Hello and welcome to www.lostboys.com. My name is Chris McGuigan and you're listening to podcast number 145 on November the 5th, 2012. Well, I've done something this week that I haven't done in a long time, and I actually went down to one of the supporters clubs and had a little open mic session with all the guys that were down there, and it was brilliant, really good fun, great bunch of guys, and made me feel so welcome, and everybody joined in the podcast, and hope you enjoy it. Here we go. Alright, so here we are. It is November the 4th and I'm in the Forest Club in Bristol in England, and I'm sitting with a few of the lads from the Celtic Supporters Club here. So what we're going to do is we've got quite a few boys here going to come on and talk, but a few of them you will know and a few of them you might not know. I was invited down here by Gary Boy, better known as Somerset Tim on Twitter, and we've just watched Celtic snatch a 2-2 draw from the jaws of victory, and we were in good form right up to about the 90-minute mark, and now we just not so happy, but that's alright, we'll get around it. So a few guys want to introduce here. I have Kieran Ward, first of all, who was one of the founder members of the Bristol Supporters Club, and good to have you here today, Kieran.
Thanks very much.
And do you own the pub here, or are you involved in the pub here?
I'm the landlord here, yeah.
You're the landlord here. And how did you get the Supporters Club up and running?
Well, about 15 years ago, when I was drinking in the pub, I just asked the ex-landlord of the pub whether I could bring my skybox down to start showing the games. And it snowballed from then. And then I took over the pub, and the lads along with me set up the Celtic Supporters Club then. Got going then.
Bristol doesn't strike you as a place where you would get very many Celtic supporters. I was pleasantly surprised this morning when we had about 18 in watching the match, right?
Well, if you come down Wednesday night, you won't be able to get through the doors.
Well,
there'll be about 120.
Who do we play on Wednesday night?
I hope it's not Dundee United anyway.
So obviously, Kieran, I detect a wee bit of a twang in your accent there. You're not from Bristol yourself.
I'm born in Bristol.
Oh yeah.
Born in Bristol. Mother and father Donegal, and that was it.
That's kind of what I hear coming through there.
First Old Firm game was, I think, I was 6 months old.
We'll not divulge the year on that, will we?
Yeah, 6 months old. 1968.
So, what's it been like? I mean, we've had a lot of supporters clubs on, Lost Boys from all over the world, and you know, every sort of watered hole there is has a Celtic Supporters Club. And one of the things that we haven't really done is talk about Celtic supporters growing up in England. My own experience, obviously, growing up in Belfast, it was quite unique when it comes to supporting Celtic. What's it been like living in England, sort of born and bred here, and growing up as a Celtic fan?
Well, it's funny, the way my family worked, I mean, that was your team, and there was no other choice. My father would take me up 5-6 times a year. I remember I was at Kenny Dalglish's last ever game in '76, and stuff like that. He always took me to the big wooden doors to get the autographs, and I grew up in the Celtic way, and now my son's doing the same thing. I bring him to Celtic Park now, and with the lads here now, there's so much Scottish and Irish in Bristol anyway, and there's lads being brought up in the Celtic way again. So even my young lad now, who's 7, he's got mates that are Celtic supporters in schools in Bristol. And so it's funny the way it works. They just grew up being in the Celtic way, and that's the way it's going to be. They don't have an English club at Celtic's their team. And
is that kind of the general consensus around the table? You know, do you obviously, like myself, you brainwash all your children into being Celtic supporters, but with all the new Premiership and the Sky and all the rest of it, do you find that your kids now are getting a wee bit more attracted to the Chelseas and the Man Uniteds rather than Celtic?
My target with my kids was to make sure they're Celtic fans. If they end up supporting England, then I shrug my shoulders, and they end up supporting England, so I shrug my shoulders. But they're good Celtic fans. They're coming up to see the Spartak game in December, and I'm happy about that. They love Celtic, so I feel I'm a good dad.
I think it's always been the same, really, because years ago, when I first came down here in the 70s, 1972, there was Leeds United shirts all over the place and scarves. Now it's just Man United, Chelsea. The Leeds United, you don't even hear anything about them now at all.
No.
So it's always been the same. Nothing's changed, I don't think, anyway.
One of the funny things I found since I came back from America and lived in England was going up to the games, driving up to the matches, and you know, on your way there and on your way back. No matter how many service stations you stop at for you know, a wee bit of a pit stop, there's always Celtic supporters coming back. No matter how far up north or how far south you always run into them, and I found that quite surprising. I think, and only since I've got home have I really realised how far, even here in the UK, people travel to Celtic matches. Obviously, you've got it coming over from Ireland, you get it a lot, but in England, it's bigger than what I first anticipated.
I mean, if you take it from Plymouth, I mean, they ran a bus every single home match, and they used to pick us up in Bristol. So they'd be travelling all through the night, and literally you had a few hours in Glasgow, and then you're travelling back.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's so much easier with the planes, with the cheap flights. When there was 2 years ago there, we were sort of going up and down in the same day. We'd leave here at 10 o'clock in the morning, we'd watch the game, we were back here at 9 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
It was only costing us £50-60.
Yep.
So the cheap flights have made it so much easier for us. Whereas before, literally you're on a bus all night, and then you're on a bus all Sunday night, and it was a long drag when you had to go to work on the Monday.
How often would you travel up to the games, up to Glasgow?
Well, I used to, up to about 2 years ago, I was a season book holder, but with the pub now I'm not. I'd normally go 4 or 5 times a year, and we'd always try and get an away European match in.
Mm-hmm.
Normally myself, Paul, all the boys would head off for maybe 1 or 2 away matches. But this year I haven't been up to so far this year. I'm just waiting to see now with how the European stages go. But because I go to a few of the Ireland away games as well, so
right.
I'll try and mix it up in that way.
Do you feel that when you live so far away from Glasgow, do you get that camaraderie coming down to the pub and watching the match with all your mates?
I think it's stronger. When the lads come in here now for a Celtic game. It's weird because they're so far away from the game, and it's a lot more commitment in the pub. Like, it's a lot more happier and a lot more pressure on.
I actually thought, and I talked about this on the podcast before, when I went up to Glasgow again, and I got a season ticket last year, I didn't have that same camaraderie as going to the Celtic Supporters Club, because it was just me and my son. We'd drive up. We didn't really know the people that were sitting around us, and I lost a wee bit of it. I just didn't enjoy it as much as sitting with all my pals on a Saturday afternoon or Sunday morning or whatever and watching the game. And although I enjoyed going back to watch the match, obviously live, the crack wasn't there. And it's great to come down here to the Supporters Club and see so many of you here that they all turn up and sort of come out on a really horrible day like it is today to come and watch the games. Has that been your own experience too, rather than watching it in your living room?
Something to be said about relaxing with a few pints and your mates and getting a bit of banter going. It's a different atmosphere, and it's better in some respects.
Like, you used to go to games up in Glasgow, it was like being with your extended family. And like having the supporters clubs down here, it's now like your extended family. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference. And you can't import that anywhere else. This is like extended family. But I'll cut you out of my role, sorry.
Do people be surprised that there's this little enclave of Celtic fans that so religiously turn up every single week?
I say definitely, Chris, because just picking what you're saying earlier on about the Celtic supporters in England. In my case, I told you this earlier on. Born in Glasgow, grew up in the southwest of England, and when you're at that point in your drinking years, I suppose, where you're sitting in the living room watching these games, but you want to go somewhere where you can go every other week to watch these games. In my case, I take the 30-mile bus up from Somerset to Bristol, to get that,
mm-hmm.
just to meet other like-minded supporters and just watch the game and have a good laugh, and a chat.
But it must be the same all over the country as well, which I found surprising. And I keep harping back to it. Travelling over from Belfast, we had hundreds and hundreds would go over, sort of in the early 90s and the mid 90s, even when things weren't so good. Have you started to see the numbers dwindling, or are you seeing just the same amount, or do you get more members now coming down?
I'd say the numbers are definitely dwindling, but I think that's because it's not. You'll always see it on the big nights, European nights. When we used to have the old firm, you couldn't move, but it'd always be a hardcore 25 to 30 of us that'd be there every single week for every game. Mm-hmm. We were lucky enough to get the home games as well on the foreign channels, and we'd have the same. You can more to say every week who was going to be there, and then you'd have the big games, and then you have the pub be packed. But this year now, it's a strange year now this year, because obviously the foreign channels haven't took up the Celtic games this year because Rangers have pulled out of the league, so there's less interest. So this year is a bit of a strange year because Sky are charging so much money. For this pub alone, the size of it is £1,100 a month, which you can't pay back. So we're only getting really the European games this year. So we're Sportsman at the other pub that's using us, and it's still the same hardcore 20 that goes to the other pub.
Yeah.
And I think that will stay the way it is for the next few years until maybe, I don't know, just let's change, make the league structure better.
And how would you change the league structure?
I tell you, the structure is people are getting fed up watching. I shouldn't say Inverness, but it's the first one that comes to mind because they keep on beating us. We keep on playing all these teams, and you get fed up playing them 4 times a season. I was brought up in the days when you played the Rangers twice a season, and if you got them in the cup, it was brilliant. You really look forward to it. I still look forward to the Rangers games, but it's not the same as it was. It's just familiarity breeds contempt. That's all. That's definitely what it is. There's too many playing the same teams, too many times, then you get in the cup. It's murder. You could play them 6 times a season. There's just too many times.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. What would you change?
I would make it a bigger league and give more money to the lower league teams, the ones that's going to come in. Make it 16. Make it 16 teams, and give these guys, even if you go to subsidise them, give them some money. I talk about the SFA. They'll load it anyway, aren't they? Give these teams subsidise them for 5 years at least until they get their house in order and see how they go. Because I'll get fed up. I know Celtic's not going to agree with it. Rangers not going to agree with it because they'll miss the old firm games. But something's got to be done. Otherwise, it's going to die a slow death as it's doing.
See, I disagree with that. I'd rather play better teams 3 or 4 times a season than play the poorer teams twice a season and the better teams twice a season. I think it's a better league if you're playing better teams more often. There's not an easy answer to it, but overall it's a judgment call, and I think we're better the way we got it at the moment.
My name's Rab. I just want to say that in principle Scottish football has been draining itself for a couple of years, to be honest with you. And while agreeing with Dave and Paul in certain aspects of what they've been saying, that it's not necessarily how many times you're going to play each team in each year. It's the level of footballers that you're going to be able to attract into that league that makes the league, and that's the difference. And we are unable at this present time to attract any decent players of any repute, shall I say, into our league, because we're not getting enough competition on a weekly basis. We will win the Champions League and we will win the Europa League and things like that, but you're not going to be able to do it week in, week out as you do in the Premiership in England at the moment. And I think that's something fundamental has got to change to make that difference. And I don't know the answer like that, Paul and Dave. Thank you.
Do you think the success this year with us in the Champions League strengthens Celtic's hand to attract bigger and better players?
Won't do any harm.
Yeah, I don't disbelieve, it's certainly an attraction from a point of view of Celtic and from a point of view of Scottish football, that the more success will breed that success, but it still will not attract players on a long-term basis. I think you're still going to have a difficulty attracting players on a long-term basis. There's some nice younger players at Celtic at the moment who, if the European campaign goes on, may remain, but also will be seen by others in the world or Europe and used in that way. So it's very difficult to try and retain those players and make sure you've got the money there as well.
That's very good that you should say that, because it brings us on to the subject of Victor Wanyama being maybe one of those players that you're talking about.
I think that's a good point, and I think Key is another good point as well, where we have lost a good player, but not necessarily a player who was playing all the time in the team, but he's probably trebled his salary by going to a team like Swansea. Now, no disrespect to Swansea, but Celtic have got such a history. We in theory are a much bigger club than Swansea, but once you get into the English Premier League, the amount of money they can pay is phenomenal. So where we're at, we got a great scouting system where we can attract people like Victor into our team, but the reality is we'll sell them in either in January or in the summer. We'll get good money for him, but he could end up going to Reading or Swansea or Queen's Park Rangers or Fulham or a team like that, who are not competing at the higher level, but the money he'll get will be 3-4 times what he'll get at Celtic Park. He's good enough to go to the Man United or one of the really top teams, and I hope he does. He's done really well for us, and I'd like to see him do well. But we will lose out to the richer teams, and that's just a fact of life. We can't. The best we can do is bring in players from other countries who will turn out to be quality and sell them out, and that's where we are.
Is that necessarily a bad thing right now, given the constraints that we have?
I think that's realistic, and the scouting staff at Celtic Park deserve a gold medal for what they've achieved over the past couple of years. They've been fantastic, and I hope we all not hold on to that scouting staff.
The fact of the matter is, Celtic's now a selling club. We have to sell to survive. It's as simple as that. I mean, when we're getting 1.2 million a year in TV revenue, and I don't know what the English clubs are getting now, it's 30-40 million or something. And even, like you said, if you relegate, you get a parachute payment. We can't pay the wages. So our system is now down to our scouts. Victor Wanyama, if we do survive the Christmas period and we're still in Europe next year, he'll be sold next summer for a bastard. And so will Foster. An English keeper, because of the way things are getting shaded now in Europe. They have to have English players on the books. We'll get 5-6 million for him. Mm-hmm. Wanyama, hopefully 15 million, but you never know in today's market. But he won't be going to a Reading. He'll be going to Man United, Liverpool. He's that good. In my opinion, he's that good.
I just want to say, as my old man said before the last Barca game, there is that the fact that we play, in such a small league, not a very competitive league, Celtic cannot help, but cannot help but play in such a league, as well. They just have to make do what they got, and as well, I remember Lennon saying, during our Champions League years, under Martin O'Neill, that even after the UEFA Cup final, Celtic still feel they have to prove themselves every time. In Europe, it's just no matter how many times, even getting as far as the quarterfinals, Champions League, we still have to prove ourselves because of where we are, where we're based.
But still, when you look 2 weeks ago when we played Barcelona in the new camp, and obviously, we obviously lost in the last kick of the game. There's a gulf there that we all appreciate, but is the gulf really as huge as what it's made out to be?
Well, I was about to say when Gary was just talking there about that, 67 and that responsibility of 67, this team from within 30 miles of Glasgow, being capable of winning a European Championship at that time. Football has changed remarkably since then. Remarkably so. Kieran just mentioned that, and Gary's mentioned it as well. The publicity alone, the publicity machine around the EPL and everything else is absolutely tremendous, because no matter what you do, if you want to advertise now, if you're a member of the EPL, if you want to advertise, you're advertising worldwide. If you're advertising as a member of the SPL, i.e. Celtic, any team that's in SPL, you're not going to get the same revenues and things like that. And again, it goes back to what can you afford to buy, but what can you afford to? And I hear everybody around the table talking about what can and can't be done and what might or might not be done. But at the end of the day, you can bring in your Wanyamas and all the rest of the guys, but why can't we bring in the Danny McGrains and all these guys and the Ronnie Simpsons and going back? Why are we not capable of doing that nowadays? Why haven't we got the academies around ourselves that provide that?
Well, when you look at the likes of the Tony Watts and the James Forrests, I mean, we do have some players coming through from the academy, or at least from the team. I think that started about 2 weeks ago, had an average age of 23. It is a young team. Is that the way that Neil Lennon wants to move forward with the club? Is this something that Peter Lawwell's developed? What do you think?
I think Scotland these days, back in the days, as you said, Rab said, Danny McGrain, Ronnie Simpson, I mean, they're world class players in their day and age. Today you've got people like Sean Maloney in the past, and they fizzle out. We've got a good young team and they fizzle out, they never move on a step. For example, James Forrest, Tony Watt. What's the age of Tony Watt? 18? And we're all thinking good player, good prospect. And Mark Burchill, he reminded me of Mark Burchill. We all thought at the time, Mark Burchill, next Michael Owen. So we need to know how many players step from 18 to the 26-year-old, I mean, a top player. Sean Maloney was always a good player. He never improved to what he should have.
I understand what you're saying, but when you also look at the Kenny Dalglishes and you look at the Lou McCarrys and guys like that, I mean, they moved on as well from Celtic. Is it any different today than it was then?
I think the difference is that in those days we seemed to encourage really top players, and they developed through the 60s and early 70s. Now, whether it's not the kids these days are just not playing football the way we did before. You know, when I was a kid, I, especially during the summer holidays, for example, I'd be out 12 hours a day playing football all that time. It's crap at it, but
that's why
what
you're
I was doing
here.
exactly. But that's what I was doing all the time. But other players would come through who weren't crap at it, and they'd been the Kenny Dalglishes, my era of that time, and quality players they were. But we're in a position that Scotland's a small country. You know, we're fishing in a relatively small pool compared to other countries. We'll only ever develop, if we're lucky, one or two really quality players. One of them might be world class, but we're always going to struggle with that.
The thing with that, though, that wasn't an excuse back in the Jimmy Johnson days. Back in those days, we did produce world class players. Think back to what was the last world class player Scotland had, or Celtic had for that matter. And you're thinking, that's the point, you're always thinking.
Yeah, well, when you watch Scotland today, of course, but what you have to remember is the world itself has become a smaller place as well, hence why we've got so many internationals. Now, I was only playing devil's advocate earlier on because we did have very, very good international players, but the difference between then and now is we had international players that played for renowned international countries. Now we sign internationals, yes, we do, but they're from countries that you wouldn't say are particularly, you know, in the top 10, top 15, top 20 countries in the world. They're never going to win a major championship, apart from Greece, of course.
I just think the after on the back of watching Wales Scotland and discussing what is the root cause of why there's the homegrown talent are not playing well. Paul Larkin, as you know, Twitter said in Scotland Tonight that Archie McPherson allegedly said that who was to blame for the lack of homegrown talent up north of the border, and he allegedly said that Celtic were to blame for it. Now, if that's the case, then what he's forgetting is that as other teams, not just Celtic, but other teams who brought in brought in foreign players, the foreign input, especially in the late 90s, that came in. That was the beginning, the beginning of the end of this, attempt to bring top class Scottish players. It doesn't help at all, even now. But it's not just Celtic,
But it's not just Scotland either. I mean, if you look at England as well, the model in England is similar. Yes, there's more money to throw around, but when you look at all the top English teams, they have very few English internationals. They're stuffed with internationals. Yeah, probably the cream of the crop.
No, it's just exactly. With England especially, you want to talk about the wider this tiny wee island of ours. It's they rely on other players beyond the waves, so to speak. Whereas in Spain they have homegrown talent and they produce great players. It's just.
I remember Dundee United brought in foreign players years ago. They had loads of them, and even one went to Rangers. They were all Scandinavian players. The big difference is he didn't get paid megabucks. Right? So they get paid the same money as the other guys, and that's why they come in. The thing is now, these foreign players come in because they're getting more money. I would give the money to the up and coming young Scottish guys or Irish guys or whatever. But these guys come in here. They were in the 70s. Dundee United, Rangers had one, by the way, Orjan Persson. He was a great left winger, but he was only getting the same money as the rest of the guys. You didn't make him more because a lot of these countries, remember, were part-timers. It's only in the last 30 years that they've all become, even Turkey. Teams used to beat like Turkey 9-1. but they're all professionals now. They were amateurs in the days, and that's why these guys come out and make it. It's all changed now.
I mean, are you saying you wouldn't have brought in people like Wanyama because they're really good players? They've come here because of the money that Celtic can offer. Yeah, but Scotland can offer more than Belgium for a player like that, and that's a good thing. I wouldn't want not to have Wanyama. I think he's a fantastic player, and he'll earn us really good money. As a credit to the scouting system that we brought in players like that, that's going to earn our club loads and loads of money that will continue to circulate round for the coming years, and combined with the Champions League money that we're getting at the moment, hopefully that will put us in a very strong position over the next 3, 4, 5 years. I don't see that as being unfortunate. I think that's just the way football's moved on. That's where we are now. I mean,
I was going to say that are we going to become a selling club with these players that we're going to put us in the last 10 years, but
when you look at but there's obvious models in Europe. When you look at Germany and you look at Spain, right? I mean, Germany's a great example of this. I mean, even for you to pay into a match in Germany and Spain isn't the expense that we pay in Scotland or in England.
No.
But still, the Bayern Munichs and the Barcelonas of this world, while they do still sign, expensive players, the majority of their team are homegrown. And
exactly, yeah.
I know you can't compare the population of Scotland.
Of course, yeah, no.
You can't compare the population, but the Celtic fan base is a lot bigger than some countries with big populations. The Celtic fan base is enormous. If you can get guys in there just to play for their jersey, and there may be millions that want to do it, be all over the world. I mean, all over Canada, America, and all that. Well, maybe America, maybe it's a bit, especially in Ireland and places. Mm-hmm. You'll crack it. It's not so much the population. The Celtic fan base is bigger than most places. Like besides maybe Borussia Dortmund, who get 80,000 every week, Barcelona and Real Madrid. There's no many American selling.
See, picking on what you're saying, Chris, is the talent that Scotland used to have in the 70s, 60s and 70s. And, at that time, Bill Shankly said, making the comparison between Scotland and England as population, but in terms of the percentage of talented players, Scotland had a higher percentage, of talented players than those south of the border. You had loads of them in the 70s. I like to think it was possible that could happen again, but whether it happens once, I don't know. Is this it could happen once again?
But I mean, this surely is obviously a problem we have right now. I mean, it's a current, present day problem. Is that problem likely to be the same problem in 20 years' time? Is it likely to be worse? I mean, can you see the Scottish League going in the same direction as the Irish League? Or do you see the likes of the Celtics of this world, going in a whole different direction and, being engulfed within a European League or something like that?
There's always a danger that the Scottish League will just continue to descend into lower depths. And personally, and I think a lot of Celtic fans would love to see a European league. I think a European league is much more likely than any sort of British league. I think with the European league would come more interest, more interesting football, more finance, and the rest of it. And without that, there's a danger that Scottish football is just going to stagnate and will rely on getting into the Champions League, getting to different levels within the Champions League to generate finance to continue to compete. Let's hope that there's a real good chance that a European League of some sort will happen. And it's competing with the English Premier League, which has been a fantastic success. However much you dislike how well they've done, they have done very well, and they've sucked so much money out of Scottish football and all the other European leagues, just sucked it up. And I think one day there'll be a payback on that.
Thanks, Steve. Rob, again, I just want to say about that, the money in the EPL particularly, and as Dave says, I think in the next 20 years we will be a European league. It won't be Scotland, England, Holland. It will be this thing about the Europa League. It will exist, and the money will exist. Not necessarily from Sky in itself, because we as British people are not subscribing as we used to, you know.
But here's my problem with that, because yes, my heart really thinks I would love to see Celtic play in a European league, but the complication that I have with it is I don't see why English teams or German teams or Spanish teams, they don't have the need for a European league the way we do, and maybe the likes of Ajax does, or some of your top clubs in Portugal and places like that. There's no initiative for them to have a European league, because they have their strong leagues that, you know, are money loaded, and in addition to that, they have the Champions League. So are we fooling ourselves, or what would move us into the next level to say, yes, Manchester United want to play Celtic?
You're 100% right. I mean, Celtic fans are deluded to think there's going to be a European league. The German league is the strongest supported league in Europe. You've got 50,000 fans turn up to every single home game. They're paying 10, 12 euros a game to get into the game. Right, the Spanish league's well supported. The Italian league isn't so much. But you've got the Dutch leagues. Unfortunately, we're in a position we think, because we're a bit of trouble with our league, that everyone's going to fall in place with us. They're not. You know about the Scandinavia or the Europa League they had a few years ago, the Denmark team, Portuguese teams, and I think it was the Dutch and the Norwegians. That was never going to work. As you said, there's so much money in the European League. They don't want to know us. I mean, our biggest hope is to get into the English League somehow and work our way up through that. But that's not going to happen either.
Again, it's like turkeys voting for Christmas, because until I think Rupert Murdoch says, yes, we'll have Celtic in the EPL, nothing will happen.
It's all driven by television, and it's when, and it'll happen at some point, that television will get fed up with the current structure within the Champions League, and they'll look for something different. And that could involve, it might not involve, but it could involve teams like Celtic, bigger teams, historically bigger teams, that will deliver some form of change. But the danger is that it will just continue the way it is, and the smaller leagues like Scotland will just continue to be marginalised.
As Kieran just alluded to, if you know, it's not what we believe in and what the media believes in either. To be honest, what Dave was referring to there is what we bringing through here. Are we bringing through our own domestic league to be better, greater, and everything else, so that we can attract everything around a European league or whatever we want to become in the future? That's what's got to be quite clear, and that's what's not very clear. And it's not driven by the SFA, the SPL, or any means in Scotland. And if you want Celtic or any other club in Scotland to remain at the forefront of football, which it should be, you know, football started there, let's keep it there, then we need to bring it back home again, and that's what we're not doing. We can't look to other people to provide it for us. We need to look at ourselves to give that provision.
So let me ask you this, Rob. We're sitting here on November the 4th. We're top of the SPL. We're in the group stages of the Champions League. We're in all the cup competitions, and Armageddon hasn't happened yet. Are we happy?
Tomorrow's November the 5th. and by the way, you're talking to the wrong guy here, but I hear what you're saying. No, don't worry. But no, I do agree with you. Whether there is or not an Armageddon, we still have to survive where we are now and be there in 20 years to do so.
And that's my point, because you know we still have a league that maybe a lot of us thought was going to be boring this year. We thought we were going to win it by a country mile, and it hasn't panned out like that. I personally have really enjoyed this season so far, a lot more than I thought I was going to enjoy it. And you know, all the things we talked about at the beginning about where we're going to go with Celtic and what's going to happen and all the rest of it, you know, it's all in the future. But what's happening right now at Celtic, we've a lot of positives there. It's good being a Celtic supporter right now.
Well, it is, especially as the Cream is known in the league. I think it's fantastic. And I actually think even if Celtic and the Cream left the league, I think it would be a better league, because you see all these teams right now, Hibs, Aberdeen, they're getting close together. They're loving it. Their fans are loving it, and their attendances are going up. And I think if even Celtic left it, and the other lot, then I think it'd be a better league. As long as we went to somewhere decent, you know what I mean?
I don't know if I buy into that.
I buy into it. I do buy into it.
From a very selfish perspective, as a Celtic fan, I do.
I think fans like winners. And if Hearts were winning, Hibs were winning, Kelly was winning, Aberdeen was winning, the fans will turn up. Doesn't matter if Celtic or Rangers. Oh, that lot's no there.
I just think that, you know, even with the Rangers situation right now, and them boasting about getting 40,000 people at their matches or whatever, which is, you know, smashing for them, I presume. But the novelty of that is going to wear off. I can see Rangers this year, next year, even when they go up in the second division, those attendances will drop and drop and drop, and there'll be a tipping point. You know, it's the marginal returns thing, and I can see them going into a lot of trouble. And I also think that if Celtic left the league, although right now your Hearts supporters say brilliant, you know, we have a chance to win the championship, it would go the same direction as the Irish League. Not that I would care, because Celtic would be probably somewhere nicer.
I think the elephant in the room so far this afternoon has been Rangers, and I think we're in terms of their money. I mean, their fans are paying half price to get into the ground, so 40,000 going into Ibrox is the same as 20,000 going into any other club, and things are not going to improve for them anytime soon. But the other question in terms of is the time now to really draw a line under the concept of the old firm? You know, is you could argue that the old firm has been detrimental to Celtic over the past however many years because of many of the antics of the Rangers fans. Is the time now really to draw a line under that, and the time to, you know, why do we have joint sponsorship on our shirts with Rangers? Should we really be drawing a line under that now? I
have to be dead straight. I have lost all interest in Rangers. Rangers aren't even on my radar anymore. I mean, what's the point? It's like, you know, when you grow up as a boy, you know, things that were very important to you when you were a little kid, and then you become a man, and they're just not as important anymore. And I feel that's my analogy for Rangers.
I think you're right, but now the time's right to draw that line under it, and we haven't done that yet, and the board's not doing that yet.
The only time I miss them is New Year's Day, the New Year's Day match, because every year we'd be coming down and we'd all be in Howard having a great day and a great crack. I don't know who we're playing this year. I think it's Ross County. It's not really the same, but that's the only time. Like you said, I didn't know who they were playing yesterday. I didn't know it was a cup match or a league match. I literally didn't have a clue. That's how they're not important anymore.
The only times I read about it, Chris, is what I see on Twitter every time, and I'm not interested. You know, I don't you know, I'm not interested in retweeting that as well.
On the back page of the Sunday Mail this morning, they were still the head story, Rangers, a third division club. We were playing Barcelona on Wednesday. We could go top of the league today. We were relegated by 7 pages in.
Well, that's what you get for reading that paper.
Just picking up what you're saying there, Chris. You know that it has been a good season. I think it's only been a good season because we've managed to get into the Champions League this season. That you know, we had to get in there. You know, we needed it. We needed to get in there because it's been a long time. You know, since the Strachan years, and if we didn't, you know, there'd be nothing else to look forward to except, you know, just retaining the title and then waiting again in August time.
Yeah, but that's
I'm just being honest about it. You know, it's not, there's no competitiveness, you know, that is, but, you know.
Well, that's off the back of a 2-2 draw today.
I know.
With Dundee United and a
yeah.
defeat last week. I mean, it hasn't been the plain sailing we thought it was going to be.
No.
And that's got to put us in good stead too. Now, I know there's 1,000 reasons for it, and I think we're picking teams for competitions. But I'm enjoying this league this year, and I don't know, I can't say right now that in 5 years' time Rangers haven't come back, whether I'll still miss Rangers then or not. I don't know.
Since we're sitting in Bristol, right, all you ever get down in Bristol is, but Rangers are not there anymore. Rangers are not there. Every single time I tell them, I don't care. I support Celtic, I watch Celtic, right? I do not care about Rangers. I do not. If they're in the third division, one of my mates have an argument with him every week. Every week,
this person that says this to you, but Rangers aren't there. I mean, what team do they support?
Bristol City, some crap, Bristol Rovers, no, in fact, we're in Bristol, so probably Man United, you know, but...
I'm the same. The reason I ask that is I'm just being mischievous because one of my pals that I work with is a Liverpool supporter, you know, and he gave me all that, you know, you don't have Rangers anymore and that Mickey Mouse League and all the rest. And I'm going, but I mean, I remember back in the good old days when TVs were black and white and Liverpool were good. I says, but now we're playing Barcelona, so we're looking forward to playing Barcelona and we're looking forward to playing Spartak Moscow, while Liverpool have what to look forward to this year.
I just take this opportunity to go off topic for a second, and
yes.
every single Celtic supporter out there listening, I love you all.
And he'll buy you a drink if you come to Bristol.
You know, the season's going well so far, especially, you know, in the Champions League campaign. You know, it's going okay, and fingers crossed it'll be all right this Wednesday. You know, you just got to believe.
The worst we're going to get this year is the Europa League. I really believe that. I'm sure we'll still be in Europe after Christmas. So this season, whatever happens now, it's going to be a good season for us because we've still got the interest after Christmas. Hopefully there'll be a few of us going away after Christmas, rather than whether it be in the European Cup or the Europa League. We'll be heading off somewhere after Christmas.
So Kieran, let me ask you this: what is success for this year then?
To me, success this year is still be in Europe after Christmas. Obviously winning the league. Cup would be a bonus. Now everyone says Celtic's going to win everything.
Is success this year building on the relative success of last year?
Aye, bring a couple more young fellas through like Watts, because we are going to lose players at the end of this year. There's no question about it. We are going to lose players. The scouting system's got to be in place to bring other players in, and hopefully a couple of lads from the academy will come through. So we're always replacing. We are a selling club now. There's no question about that. And as long as we're a selling club, and I think we all accept that now.
Celtic can't look too far ahead now in these days, because as soon as you get a decent player, he's going to be sold on in 2 years. You know, look at Key, a great site, 2 million, good signing, sold for 6. That's what's going to happen with Celtic now, and that's how it's going to be. Wanyama sold for 900.
But is that really that bad? Is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that's how Celtic are these days. I'd love it to be the opposite way, but it's not that way. It's not that way at all. But Wanyama's going to make us a load of money, and I hate to be talking like that as a Celtic supporter, but that's how it is these days. That's the reality of the situation.
I think success this season will be judged by, at the end of the season, looking forward to next season and realistically thinking we're going to do better next season than we did this season. And I think this season we've got a reasonable expectation of doing well. I think there's a good chance we'll be in Europe after Christmas, and I think we'll end up selling people like Victor in the summer. Hopefully not January. Hopefully rather be in the summer. But I think if we're sitting having this conversation again in end of May, beginning of June, it would be going into the following season. We're going to have an even better season than we had this season.
So when you look at this season and you think about Wednesday night against Barcelona, and now we're after the first leg, we're a little bit more optimistic. Are our expectations changing with this current Celtic team?
I think they are, although realistically we can still get stuffed on Wednesday night, and it doesn't matter because we're competing against Benfica and Spartak, and I think we are capable of ending the group ahead of them, and if we do that, then it's been a marvellous season.
Yeah, but when you look at the start of the season, our expectations weren't as high as what they are today. Are we in danger of getting a wee bit ahead of ourselves?
We're always in danger of getting a wee bit ahead of ourselves. That's been a Celtic supporter over the past 20, 30, 40 years. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, that's being a fan.
That's right.
I just want to pick up what Kieran's saying about, you know, Europe after Christmas. You know, my man was saying after the last Barca game that he would rather that, you know, he'd prefer, you know, Europa League, you know, if it's like, you know, possible, or doing it well, but Europa League finals, you know, be it quarter-finals, semi-finals, then he would choose that over Champions League last 16. He'd be perfect.
Another Seville.
If you ask any Celtic fan in the last 15, 20 years what the highlight of their year was, or the highlight of Celtics, it was Seville. Even though we lost the final. you know what I mean? It was an experience. I mean, there was 80,000 fans there.
Seville is coming up to 10 years ago.
I know it is, but to me, it was still like yesterday. It was fun, and we got beat, and we did get beat, and you're gutted for the night. But then you look around the city in the morning, and there were Celtic fans and cash machines. They're sleeping everywhere, and it was fantastic.
The reason why I asked the question was when I look back to last season and the season before, and the displays we had in Europe we didn't exactly cover ourselves in glory, and probably our expectations. I mean, to take a random poll of Celtic fans, we all sort of thought we were maybe Europa League level, right? But here we are, we're in the Champions League, we're going to play Barcelona on Wednesday night, and some of us expect us, we're past even getting a humping, right? We don't think we're going to get a humping, we think we might sneak it, and we're going to beat Spartak again, and we're going to beat Benfica again. In the space of 2 years, we've went from playing bargain basement teams and maybe getting into the Europa League to now success this year is the last 16. Or do UEFA or Europa League final?
I was banking on that we'd beat Spartak at Parkhead, but they've got a bit of form now.
Okay, so let me ask you this question: when we drew with Benfica 0-0, right? Was it at that stage where we went, hold on a minute, this might be okay?
No, I actually thought at that time it was a bad result. But after the results since then, it's a wee bit different now. And I actually think we can actually get through. But I fancied beating Spartak big time because they were crap. But they've been rubbish. They've come back on. They're playing a bit of form now. Benfica, they all think we're going to get down and get a result. I've been to Benfica before as a Celtic supporter. And I tell you what, that's a hard place to get a result. That's a hard place because they're a club, and they're a proper club, like Celtic were, you know what I mean? It's nobody just hit the money. They're a club, and it's a hard place to get a result. So we might get nothing there, but Spartak is the one, and I think we just got to go hell for leather against Spartak. But let's hope it comes to that. And another thing I was going to say there, by the way, I was getting a bit too heavy duty there. I was sitting listening to them. Jesus Christ, talking about this, that, and the other. What would you rather do? I'm going to ask everyone around this table, including yourself. What would you rather do? We're talking about getting to the last 16 of the Champions League. Would you rather Celtic go to the last 16 of the Champions League or Scotland win the World Cup?
You're going to...
Well, excuse me.
That's an easy one for me.
I've asked a few guys in here, and they're not here today, but maybe one of them is, and he said, I need to think about that one. Well, I don't have to think about it, so I don't know what you've got.
I would rather see Celtic go to...
Excuse me, I can't talk to you, an Irishman, but I haven't said that.
I would rather Celtic got into the Europa League than Scotland won the World Cup. No, Ireland's different.
Let's not forget our home record in the Champions League isn't too bad. Is it too bad?
What was the question?
What was the question?
Celtic get to the last 16 of the European Cup and get knocked out. Doesn't matter.
It's Catholic. You know what? You know my answer. Last 16, definitely. You know, Celtic first, Celtic last, Celtic always. But no, our home record in Champions League isn't too bad. And I don't see why we couldn't, beat Spartak. Maybe not Barcelona. I mean, a draw would be fantastic. We got a good home record, as well, and we broke the curse of the poor away record, in the last many years, back there.
When's the last time we got? I know obviously we've got beaten Barcelona, but before that, everyone keeps going about away record. Our away records doesn't matter anymore. We've won away from home. We've drawn away from home. Forget our previous record. We're starting afresh now. I mean, we gave Barcelona a hell of a game. It was a fluke goal, really, at the end. All right, and I know what he's saying against Benfica is a hard place to go to. But I'll tell you something, the way Celtic's confidence is away from home in Europe, I'll be very surprised we don't get a point there.
So we've talked about...
At least we don't have Colwell, that squad, and they make a hell of a difference.
So we've talked about sort of the big picture moving forward and all the complications with it. And now we're on to talking about Barcelona on Wednesday night. Okay, so we lost last week, we drew today, we've got Barcelona on Wednesday night. It has to be better than what we've been doing? I know we beat St Johnstone 5-0 during the week in the League Cup. What would you do differently? What would your plan be for Wednesday night for playing Barcelona in Glasgow?
Sorry, Rab again, and on behalf of me and my wife Linda, who's next to me here, and the Celtic supporter, I'd just like to say one thing here, and you'll not have seen it yet. There is a mural next door on the wall, and it's all about the enthusiasm of the supporters within this club, and that's back in 2007-2008 I think season, and we put it up there, and it's all about the guys going out for the game, making sure their noise was heard, making sure they were seen at the grounds, making sure we're putting a presence in amongst it. Whether it was Spain, whether it was Germany, wherever we went out there, we've done everything we want. If you're going to change anything in Europe at any time, then it's going to cost you money. Irrespective, it's your fans not turning up, it's going to cost them money to turn up or change life as it is. If you want to change something on Wednesday, easy. Put Big Victor on Lionel and get him to kick him off the park. That's the simple answer, isn't it? But that's not going to work, and that's not going to happen. So what you need to look at is, well, how do you contain a team like Barcelona? Well, you don't worry about it being Barcelona for a start, do you? How do you contain any team in Europe is what you look at. They showed a good example of it in Spartak, how to do it, and how to contain any team at any level. And I think it's quite appropriate that, irrespective of how good players are, you can contain any team in Europe. But I think what Celtic need to appreciate is they're at Parkhead, and they've got the 12th man anyway, not the referee, the crowd.
Do you think this is going to be a more difficult task for Celtic on Wednesday, as opposed to going to Barcelona when nobody gave us a wing or a prayer?
I would like to start off by saying, you're right, yeah, you're right, Michael, yeah, you're very right there, but I would like to say that it's one of those games that this club entirely wanted to go to, but we all couldn't get there for different reasons. But to answer it, be wrong really. So I'm going to pass to Dave and let him talk about it.
Barcelona, the best team in the world. They could easily turn up on Wednesday night and beat us comfortably, but football's not like that. And Celtic are very capable of winning on Wednesday night, and that's what we're all hoping for, and that's what we all are dreaming of, and we're looking for a fantastic game on Wednesday, and it'll depend on how Lennon plays the game on Wednesday, whether he takes it to Barcelona, and the crowd will be fantastic, and there'll be, especially the first 10 minutes of that game on Wednesday night. Barcelona will be surprised when they come out on Wednesday night. Those first 10 minutes will intimidate them. Best team in the world, they'll be intimidated on Wednesday night, and we've got to capitalise on that. If we get beat, it's not the end of the world. I think we'll still qualify from that group into the last 16, even if we get beaten Wednesday night, because we are better than Benfica and Spartak, and that's been shown on the previous games.
I just hope they load up Big Sammy with painkillers and he can play.
Hear to that.
The way I see it, it's the greatest club to ever play the game, Barcelona, the current team, against the greatest club on the planet. That's how it is. If we do how we done against Nou Camp, we can do them at Celtic Park. You've got to have belief, you've got to keep the faith for Celtic fans. If it was Rangers, we all know they're going to get 3-0 because they're going to stand at the back and park the bus. That's a Celtic play, a Celtic way. You've got to have belief.
But should we do that? I mean, when we went to the Nou Camp, although we didn't especially park the bus per se, we did have a couple of chances. I mean, Wanyama missed a chance in the second half. We probably should have scored whenever it was 1-1. But when it comes to Glasgow, I think the expectations now, especially after the first leg, I think our expectations are a wee bit higher. That's very, very dangerous for us.
You've got to play it smart. You're playing against the greatest. I'm hoping Lionel Messi's on paternity leave. Don't get me wrong.
I hope he's not, because I don't want any excuses.
I won't be there. If I was there, I would hope to see him, but I'm not there. I'm watching it on television, so I hope he's not there. I think if we shouldn't park the bus. If we park the bus, we'll get beat. play defensively, play smart, but don't park the bus.
Listen, 9 out of 10 times Barcelona are going to beat us Wednesday night. 9 out of 10 times. They're a better team than us every position. But I say just go for it. Hopefully things fall our way. Hopefully Foster has another game like he did in Barcelona. Hopefully we get 2 or 3 chances, we take the chances.
Well, when you looked at the first leg, Celtic always looked very threatening from set pieces, from corners, from free kicks and stuff like that.
Half the defence is
that
injured.
Defence in
they're right injured. Half the defence is injured.
The Barcelona
they cannot
defence
handle high balls.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. With Puyol and stuff missing,
if we can get the ball into that penalty box, we got a chance. I'm not saying we're going to win. But if we got a point, it'd be a great result. A point would be a great result.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind winning the game. A point would be a great result.
I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
The biggest advantage we have is the 12th man, the home supporters. I've said to you earlier, Chris. You know, that's the biggest plus we have in the ground. And you know, come this Wednesday, you know, the Green Brigade, you know, are going to produce this massive display before kick-off. You know, these Barca players, you know, they'll see what they're in for. I know they've been there, some of them been there before, and you know, see how intimidating it can be, but welcome at the same time, you know, but intimidating nonetheless. You know, that's our advantage.
So we all talk about that, right? Every Celtic supporter talks about the 12th man being the crowd, and we have a very romantic attachment to that. But you're talking about Barcelona here, and you're talking about the best players in the world that have played at every single level. Now, just something doesn't sit well with me when people talk about we are going to intimidate Barcelona, right? Because this is a team that go to Madrid and play against Real Madrid. Every single home match they play in the new camp has, 80,000. The numbers won't scare them. The noise won't scare them. What is the X factor that you really believe will scare them?
You say that, but if you look at Larsson today, when Larsson went back with Barcelona to Celtic, he said the Barcelona players were talking about the fans after. He said he'd never heard it. He said he'd never heard it before.
I know that too.
He said no, they were actually they rose their game rose up to the game. They rose up to the fans because they're not intimidated by us.
But what is it about? That's what I don't know the answer to. What is the X factor that intimidates me? It's not noise.
I think
is it passion?
Barcelona
it might be passion,
raises their game when they play us at Parkhead and they see the passion. They raise their game. That's what worries me. If they were going to a place that had no noise,
when you play at Parkhead, and I've been in Barcelona, I've been in Real Madrid.
I've got all your hackles up now, haven't I? Look, these are all up, mate.
I've been in Real Madrid when Celtic played in Milos 3-0, won the first leg. I'm that old.
1981.
I'll tell you what, the thing is, the Bernabeu, it's not that intimidating really. There's a lot of people there, but it's such a massive stadium, it's not really like Parkhead. When they built a new Parkhead, they built it up. It's a lot better. Milan's not that intimidating.
But is it really?
My two uncles said the same thing when they went to the Bernabeu Stadium. You know, in the second leg, it's there. It's very rare for away supporters, to make the pay so much money to go over there. It's intimidating. I
think what might help us on Wednesday night is the reality. Barcelona have already qualified for the next round of the Champions League and in first position. No, I don't think it's a danger. I think they are there, and they only need a point out of the last 3 games to confirm that. So whether they get that at Celtic Park or against Benfica or against Spartak doesn't really matter. I just hope that they will think that the game on Wednesday night's the hardest game they got to play, and if they lose that game, it doesn't matter to them. They're going to qualify in first place anyway. Yeah,
but the scary part about that is now they're going to go out against Spartak and Benfica and not have to win. That's a big problem for us.
But they have got the confidence, the players, and the ability to go out against those two teams and win 5-0.
As you said, Kieran said it and yourself said it, the worry is that you could lose that game on Wednesday because you don't accept that. What you've got to accept on Wednesday is we're going to win, and that's it. We're out there to win. We're not out there at Barcelona and win or play or whatever we want to do. We don't want them to be below par. We don't want them to be this or the other. We want to stop them qualifying because we want to be the first, so we can meet the easy team. and it is very difficult to get that par. Where do you get the confidence to do it if it's a 12th man? Because the belief is that our home crowd is a better home crowd than any crowd. Is it? Is that the way you should think? Because every time we've done it, that's how it's begun. Because when you get in that stadium, it's very different as a home crowd than it is as an away crowd. Very, very different.
At Barcelona, Celtic crowd are sent up to the gods. You can hardly hear them down at the ground. You can't hear the Celtic support. But now they're going to get it on Wednesday from us, which is a good change. And Gary was talking about the 12th man. Can I just say that this pub is the 13th man?
Just what Mick is saying about 12 man, the Celtic, you couldn't hear the Celtic crowd in Nou Camp. Well, I did hear the Celtic crowds, at one stage of the game, and some of those who travelled over to the match, said that the home crowd were like, sitting down as if they're on a cup of tea and chips, and nothing else, not singing or nothing, and this Wednesday, they'll give their all, they'll just give their all,
Alright, I'm going to put you all on the spot now, just to round things off. Just go round the table and give us a little prediction for Wednesday night.
My head says 2-1. My head says 2-1 Barca. My heart says a score draw.
1 each. Gary Hooper, and we all know Messi's going to score, so 1 each.
Sorry, but I think it's going to be 1-0 to Barcelona.
That's okay, I can edit that bit out.
You better edit this one out as well. I'm like Chris here. I think it's going to be a draw. Good luck to Celtic.
I think Wednesday night will be a roller coaster of a game, and I think we'll win 3-2. It'll be a fantastic night, and we'll talk about this 10 years from now.
I hope it's as much an exciting game as the last one was, and I'm thinking 1-0 Celtic, optimistically.
I hate to say it, but I kind of see us, the boys, winning, because Celtic's, they're not going to sit back the other night. I can see us maybe losing 2-0. I hate to say it, but that's what I feel.
I just took some drugs. I think Celtic will win 5-0.
Very good, very good. Well, on that happy note, I think we'll round that up there. Lads, just like to say, thanks very much for your hospitality today. I really enjoyed myself coming down, and I'd be more than happy to come and do this again if you'd be interested in it. Thanks very much. Thanks very much. Bristol CSE, thanks a million.
This is Henry Gloss. You're listening to www.lostboys.com.
Chris from Renfrew, absolutely awful. Can't close our game out. Bring on the Barca.
I think it was a wonderful exhibition of attacking football from Celtic. They're the finest club I've ever seen in my whole life. And long live the Celts. God bless Charlie Tully and John McPhail.
Hi, I'm Kevin Sweeney from Celtic Supporters Club. Frustrating game today, disappointing. Glad to be on the Lost Boys podcast. But bottom line is, still top of the league. We will improve, and annoying but alright.
This is Gary Boy, always known as Somerset Tim on Twitter. Disappointing today, could have done a bit more in the first half, but it's one of those Sunday games. Bring on Barca, that's all I have to say, and looking forward to this Lost Boys podcast.
Hello, my name's Linda. I'm from Greenock, although you wouldn't know it, but lifelong Celtic supporter so far, and probably always will be, hopefully.
So there you are, lads and lasses, that's us for another week. How brilliant was that? I love doing that sort of stuff. Great to meet new people and have a wee chat with everybody and give them all their say, and brilliant fun. Really thanks to Gary Boy and all the lads down at the Bristol Supporters Club for making me feel so welcome. Just superb, lads, well done. So tomorrow night is obviously the 125th anniversary of Celtic, and good luck to all the guys involved in the Celtic Grave Society who are putting together the big do tomorrow night. And wish I was there, lads. Just Tuesday night, getting the whole way up to Glasgow is really awkward for me, but I appreciate the invite. I just hope everything goes well for you. So I'll be there in spirit, don't you worry. Okay, so podcasts. Wednesday night we'll play Barcelona, and I'm going to catch up with Jamie and Jerry, and we will have another podcast out this week. I know I've promised all that before, but there's a good chance. Regardless of the result, we'll sit down on Wednesday evening after the game and we'll chew the fat, and well, the podcast should be up then sort of Friday evening sort of time anyway, by the time we get edited and all that kind of good stuff. In the meantime, fingers crossed, come out from behind the sofa, look forward to the Green Brigade's big display. Oh, it's just going to be class, isn't it? Just going to be class. Cannot wait. My name is Chris McGuigan. You're listening to LostBhoys.com, part of the HailHailMedia group. Playing us out as usual, Charlie and the Boys and the Song of the Lonesome Boatman. Talk to you all on Friday. Cheers.